if I start telling people about hell, I might just scare them off. Where are you going to scare them off to? Hell number 2? Or are you just going to sit there and let them burn?
So I guess now at this point we could get into some of the different types of drones, because people have a concept of drones in their head. The commercial drones, the Predator, and the Reaper. That's the main drones that the populace know about.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we titled it for the reason. It's Attack of the Drones. We could have just entitled The Invasion of the Drones as well, because our whole world right now is being invaded with drones. And you're right, Chris. It's not just, when people think of drones, it's typically 2 types of drones. They think of the military drones in the sky, like the Predator. Some people know about the Global Hawk, but mainly it's the Predator. And it's the consumer drones, like the quadcopters, the hobbyists and things of that nature. But what people don't realize is our world is radically about to change with this drone technology. And yes, they're coming in the private sector, right? You got a lot of drones that are coming in the private sector with the quadcopters and the hobbyists. Everybody's, a hot item for, even Christmas this year, et cetera, blah, blah. But they don't just make little quadcopters. They got all kinds of drones that fly in the air, drones that crawl on the ground, drones that with the underwater drones. They even have drones. A big thing right now is they make drones to where they literally follow you. You throw them up in the air and they follow you for adventurous. They're kayaking on the river, or they're skiing or something, and you wear a GPS device on your wrist, and you can command the drone. You can command it to follow you from the front, and it's videotaping you the whole time, or follow you from the rear. One of them is called Lily, and again, on the documentary, you can see all this. This is all not just me talking. Here's what it looks like, and here's the commercial, and here's the product manufacturer video, and here's the news broadcast. You'll see it with your own eyes. And but people are getting used to having these drones follow them. Oh, and by the way, I didn't really go into this too much in the documentary, but a lot of these drones, again, they follow you because of this GPS device, and some of the technology with the GPS devices for these drones to follow you, they're already conditioning people to have them on their wrist, on their hand area. Now, what's wild is if you fast forward, so you may not get it until you see the cover of the puzzle on the box, And but the Bible says in the last days there's going to come a mark. Everybody's going to receive a mark. Those who are not saved, they're going to receive a mark on their right hand or their forehead. And I've said for years, personally, I'm not going to say thus saith the Lord, but I've said for years, my suspicion is that term there with the mark of the beast, buy and sell, I think that's a loaded term. I think buy and sell, yes, of course. This mark will control what you buy and sell, give the Antichrist that ability. But I think it's, if you look at the matrix that's controlling our buying and selling, with the internet and things of that nature, okay, and how it's all being intertwined, the whole financial system and everything. You buy online, you do everything online, your research online, it's all online. This matrix being built, but I believe these marks might very well, this technology, be used as a tracking device as well as control what you buy and sell. It will enable you to basically be your identification as a quote global citizen and things of that nature. But speaking of a tracking device, I mean, to imagine that this mark, in the right hand, the forehead, is also not just a device to make a financial transaction to buy and sell, but what if it was, in fact, also on top of it, a tracking device, which we currently have the technology for that. It's called RFID, radio frequency identification. So, now all these drones, you're used to having this wristband, that's a GPS device, for this drone to follow you. But imagine if all the drones, can tap into these systems, and where would you hide? I mean, it's not a wristband that you can take off and chuck away. You're marked, the 7-year tribulation. So where are you going to hide? These drones are going to know everywhere you are. So that's a whole other aspect, that we really didn't go into. But since we're talking about this, it just makes you wonder just how horrible it's going to be. And again, I didn't say this. Jesus did. He said the 7-year tribulation is the worst time in the history of mankind, never to be repeated again. You don't want to be there, is the Crone translation. So, but again, we're getting used to that. We're getting used to having drones follow us. Of course, right now, it's our choice, right? But it's kind of fun. It's kind of cool. It's kind of out there. In fact, drones are getting so popular that if you pay attention to the news, they're having international drone days. Because again, what you're seeing here isn't just an American phenomenon. This is happening all over the world. In fact, so much so that we even record the broadcast I think from like Bloomberg's, the Financial Channel, whatever, and they're basically saying that, listen, the drone market is going so nuts, not just in the military, but drones everywhere, okay, that if you want, in essence, a surefire bet for your investments, dump all you got, get every stock you can get your hands on in the drone industry, because they see that it is becoming a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we're just seeing an aspect of it. They're saying dump it all into drones, because they see it, and of course that's what they get paid to do. Of course, with financial futures, right? Here's the new trends. Here's what you need, and they're always trying to beat it to get ahead. Well, that's what they're saying about drones. Most people have no clue how much is everything's getting radically ready to change. In fact, to use an analogy, I've used this too in some other interviews, that kind of where we're at with this drone technology is just now getting close to, if you will, to use an Old West analogy, just like when the news just about broke that gold, they struck gold, they found gold in California. And of course, once that news hit, everybody went, it just happened so fast, and there was just a flood towards it. We're almost, I think, with the technology, we're almost there where that announcement's about ready to be made. And I think one of the big things that's going to help kick that off is in the commercial industry. And once we start seeing the full brunt of the drone technology in the commercial industry, it's no stopping. It's just going to come like a flood. Hollywood's already using it, of course. The media's getting big on the drones. Even here in Las Vegas, we have somebody, a parishioner, who works for the Channel 8 News, and they're admitting that things in the news industry are changing. You don't need to hire a helicopter pilot. You don't need to pay for a helicopter. You don't need to rent one. You don't need to lease one. You can just use a drone. In fact, you can get much better, intimate, accurate shots with a drone. In fact, they're scrambling for people who know how to use these drones because the whole way of media, the whole way of news reporting is all radically changing because of drones. And again, not just in the U.S., but again, around in the world. They're starting to use them for even wedding photographers. They're using them in political ads. They're using drones for entertainment purposes. Disney's getting on this here in Vegas, Circus du Soleil. They're using them. They're saying we're going to have drone races, drones ballet, drone shows. It's just a whole new entertainment. And because they can mount them with lights and other things, and they're flying through the sky, and you could do it in unison with a bunch of them. And in fact, one guy, this blew me away. And this is actually. He said this in the article, so either he's a liar or I don't know, but this is what he said. Listen to this, because it blew me away. It's like, are you serious? But if you know anything about the commercial industry, the advertising industry, it doesn't overly surprise me. He started using drones for advertisement purposes, okay? And he said that when he first started, he said, man, if I could make $100 a day using my drone, for advertisement purposes, that would be awesome. He says he got a large offer for $25,000 for 4 hours. And it's just like, serious me? Yeah, because you think about it, it's a novelty. You see a drone flying, it grabs everybody's attention. And see, like right now, at least here in Vegas, every once in a while you'll see a plane, fly through the sky, and it's dragging the big advertisement behind them, somebody's website or a car dealership or something. And when it goes over, everybody looks at it because they know it works, right? So how many hundreds of thousands of people stare at your advertisement? So they'll pay big bucks for that. With drones, it's the same thing. In fact, you can get very intimate. And what's interesting too, when we expose this, it isn't just a guy flying a banner with a drone. Some of these drones, what they're doing is they're mounting them with video projectors. And especially at night, this drone's flying, but it's projecting the video commercial of whatever you want onto a building's the wall. Wow. And it could be on a high-rise, right? And now you're starting to fast forward to like, wait a second, that's like that old Harrison Ford movie, Blade Runner. They're doing these.
Yeah.
And it's like, once again, is science fiction about to become a reality? And I would say yes. But again, it's truly coming everywhere. Even one of the ones that surprised me was in the agricultural industry, and that's with farmers. And he goes, I grew up in Kansas, the Midwest. And you're going, well, farmers are usually not the most tech-savvy folks, but even they are getting in on this technology of how much of a financial savings it is. Because with a drone, they can manage their crops, their crop yields, their crop usage, right? Before, it's like, I don't know if you guys ever been in the Midwest when they grow corn. That corn's, of course, I'm a vertically challenged guy anyway, but it's tall. You're talking 8 feet tall. You can't even see the top of it, right? So how are you going to know? How can you see your whole crop, right? And how do you know which part's getting water, which one's drying up? How do you maximize your yield? Well, with a drone, they can fly above very easily with a camera mounted, and they can check out their crops. They can see what needs to be watered, what area of the field, and things of that nature. They're even using drones to spray pesticide. And with a drone, you're much more exacting than a crop duster, and which is, again, you have to hire a crop duster. You have to pay for that, right? And not anymore. You can do it with a drone. And drone, of course, working with the satellites, with GPS technology, you can be very exacting. It lets you go straight up a line, perfectly straight, comes back, flips around, goes down the other line, perfectly straight. You literally have no overspray, the whole 9 yards. So they're getting in they're even using drones to herd animals. You don't need Shep anymore. The sheepdog. You don't need a cowboy. Drones can even herd your animals. They can monitor, your farm and what's going on with your animals, right? Even some of the hunters are cheating, if you will, and they're using drones to find deer and various animals. They're even using some drones, the farmers, to seed the clouds to help with the rain and things of that nature. And even the environmental movement's getting in on this. Believe it or not, we actually shared this one. They come up with a drone that is biodegradable, right? Because you're always worried about the environment. Gee, if we're going to have all these drones in the sky, what's going to happen if they crash? That might not be good for the environment. Well, they actually created, I'm not kidding you, a drone that flies. It's a quadcopter, and it's made out of fungus and bacteria. So that if it crashes, it just, quote, goes back into the environment. Okay, but this is where it starts to get a little bit creepy. Speaking of environmentalists and EPA and, try to save the planet and that whole, spiel, they're using drones to spy on the farmers, okay? And we're being conditioned that that's a good thing, right? Because, we got to make sure those people are following those EPA rules and they're not doing something illegal. Because, farms, those guys, they some of them have hundreds, if not thousands of acres. And it's all guarded off, fences and it's private property. You can't go in there. How do I know they're following the law? Well, they use drones. They've been spying on farmers and stuff of that nature. But see, we're rationalized to think, well, that's okay to violate, that because it's for the good of the environment. They're also using drones to catch poachers. They literally monitor them, chase them down, and some of the drones they're using to catch poachers is similar to the ones that they're using in the military. Okay, but again, you're going like, I guess that's okay too, because that's not right for them to go and poach animals, which I'm not condoning either. But again, it's a slippery slope, right? You say, okay, it's okay to spy on somebody's farm, but what if you became the concern, not just the farmer? Is it okay for them to spy and monitor your house? What if you became the quote bad guy, right? That they were suspicious of behavior. Is it okay now for them to use a drone to spy on you as if you're the poacher, if you're the bad guy? Okay? And again, folks, this is all what's coming to our planet. And we're being rationalized to accept this invasion of our privacy and, frankly, our rights. But again, I think, back to the Old West analogy, that I think the announcement like, there's gold in them Bar Hills, and it created the rush and everybody went crazy. And then it was apparent that, wow, everything's radically changed, is, again, back to the commercial sector of drones. And once Amazon gets their plans in place, and they're very, 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 very close, I really think there's no turning back after this.
If you like our videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all our frequent updates.